Man, can you believe what is happening right now in the construction game? The costs have gone up astronomically, and yet people are still building houses. It's crazy. With those prices increasing, I want to make a video today and talk about whether or not you should actually construct a home or buy an existing one. Dude, this is crazy. Check this out. This house has gone up $150,000 higher than before they even started the project, because this person got caught with a way bigger bill than they thought they were gonna get. And right now they're wondering, Kris, should I back out of this deal? Should I pay the extra $150,000? It's just totally nuts right now. Today we're gonna get to the bottom of it, because right now, should you be buying, should you be building, or should you be doing something different?
One shot, now the future is yours. Go! I'm turning dreams into reality. Yeah, it's one shot, now the future is yours. Go!
Should I buy or should I build now? Should I buy or should I build now? If I build, there will be trouble, because the prices freaking just went through the roof. And everyone wants to know, Kris, should I be building or should I be buying? So it's possible that you might be a little bit in the dark of what's been happening in the real estate world over the last several months. We've not only seen like the prices of real estate go up, but you should be asking, what's happened to the cost of building a home? Has that also gone up? Because if it hasn't, everyone should be building spec homes. Like spec means speculation, like let's just build a home for fun, because if it's gonna go up in value, we could probably flip that thing and make a pile of money.
As you can see, it just fell over.
But that's actually not the case. This is the reality. For Market Insider, in 2021, lumber prices are up roughly 57%, and over the past year, that number moves to more than over 325%. You see this? This looks like a pile of scraps, right? It's not. You're looking at, I don't know, $2,000 of like leftover lumber. According to the National Association of Home Builders, lumber prices have pushed new single-family home prices up by $24,000 in the last year alone. And think about that. That house now costs $24,000 more to build just because of that added lumber price. Did you know in steel, we've seen the prices triple? In fact, building material across the board, it is up through the roof. And you know what that means? You're gonna have to pay for it if you wanna build. And yet this is the most disturbing piece of information that might be the most valuable for you to take away from this video. The median sales price of an existing home was $309,800 as of December 2020. According to the National Association of Realtors, while the average cost of building a house right now, $302,817, that's what Home Advisor reports. Look at those two numbers. That means that even though home prices have pushed up to over $300,000, that's actually what they cost to build. So you gotta ask, does that mean that there's a bubble building right now? Like, can the market really crash lower than it costs to build a home? The only way that's gonna happen is if we have way more homes than people want them. And I gotta tell you, just last week, Wall Street Journal came out, and you know what they reported? We're not missing 2 million homes, we're missing nearly 4 million homes. And guess what? That can't be resolved in like 6 months or 12 months of working hard and pitching in and let's build some homes. That's gonna take years to fix. Listen, if you're one of the millions of people that are saying, I want a house right now, Kris, what are the pros? What are the cons? Let's check them out. Some of the pros. If you decide to build a house, good news, you get what you want.
I want to help you. I want to help you get whatever you want.
Right now, my wife and I, we are designing this remodel. We bought the land next door, we bought the land beneath. I've got the 40 acres out here that no one else can build on. And this is not a small remodel. It's like 7,000, 8,000, 9,000 square feet. And it's filled with fun and lifestyle and play and just all sorts of cool things. If I choose to build that right now or next year, will I pay through the nose with increased costs? I could. Now, if you have a lot of money, that could be worthwhile, but it is something that you gotta think about. Is it more important to get what you want no matter the price you gotta pay, or do you wanna save some money? My goal is to buy a house literally every single day. And guess what? Even I'm having troubles with bidding against a lot of other people. I keep opening up new markets, the hottest markets, the places where I can get the best deals and the best prices. But you know what? The real estate market's on fire. It's frothy and everyone wants in the game. If you choose to build, well, you sure as heck aren't gonna have any bidding wars, because guess what? That war is already playing out on the material side. Those prices are getting jacked up. At least you don't have to bid against other humans that are saying, ooh, pick me, I'll buy the house for $100,000 more than it's listed for. And there's some other benefits. For example, renovation, right? If you buy an existing house, you're gonna have to do some renovations maybe if you want the carpet and the paint or the size of the room or the whatever to look the way you want. When you build a house, you don't have any of those renovations because you get to custom design that thing or you get to pick one as it's being built the way that you want it. Also, these homes are more energy efficient. So you could save $3.64 a month on all of that awesome efficiency. And then also one owner. There's no history on this property, right? Like there's no pets, smoking, mold that's been in there before, because guess what? It's brand new. You know, they say the two biggest reasons for divorce are money and sex. But there's a third new one, and guess what it is? It's real estate. Oh my gosh, the amount of stress that people are feeling is definitely one of the cons and one of the disadvantages. Literally, we've heard of stories where there's so much stress happening over this whole, should I build, should I buy, the prices are going up, what should I do? That level of stress is leading to divorce. It's crazy how it's like impacting families these days. Consider for a moment though some of the other disadvantages. You have to wait to move in. And I'm not talking about, hey, guess what? We're gonna build a home this year, we're gonna move in next year. This is more of a, hey, let's build a home and move in 2 years. Like, it's kind of far down the road and we live in a little bit of a, I don't like to delay gratification economy. And guess what? People are definitely needing to do that because there's this back order with all the builders. They've got work for years now coming out of their ears. Also, number 3, there's little negotiation, right? Like, just try to haggle. No, I'm not willing to pay that price for lumber. I actually want to pay less for that steel post. I don't think you're going to win that negotiation. Bottom line on the reason why is because if you want to haggle, they'll just say, next, and the person behind you gets first in line.
Next! Next!
And of course, don't forget, once you've actually committed to doing the project, there could be overruns on cost. 6 months later, you might still be building the house, and guess what? Costs have gone up, and you have to eat that. You have to be prepared. And then, of course, don't forget, there is the underdeveloped vegetation. These trees are so small, they're gonna take decades to grow. What you need to do is get really honest about what you can afford and what you can't, because these are the line items and the breakdowns when it comes to building a house. And some of these things are fixed, but guess what? Not all of them. Some of them are variable. For example, look at this one right here, buying land. That might have just shot up in your area and it might have priced you out for doing the construction of the home in the first place, or framing. Framing is up $20,000 to $50,000. Just think about that for a second. Does that change things with your budget? And of course, one of the most expensive parts of a house is the interior finishing, right? $50,000 to $175,000. Look at that range. It's like, there's $125,000 in the middle. What's that called? I don't know, uncertainty, the unknown of what still might happen to prices.
So should I build a home or shouldn't I?
At the end of the video, I'm going to cover that because everyone probably wants to know. It's like, should I actually build this thing? Should I buy the thing? There's actually a third option that people need to be considering. And if they don't consider it, I think they're probably going to be making a really stupid decision. So when weighing out the difference between should I buy a home or should I build a home, you also have to consider the mortgage industry and what that means in terms of a loan. Like, most people know that when you go to buy a home, a primary residence that you live in, that whether it's FHA or conventional, we're talking about a 3% to a 3.5% down payment, right? On a $300,000 home, that's like $10,000. It's not the world. But if you want to build a home, check this out. They're more or less demanding 20% down payment, and the banks can ask for that. 20% really changes that. What's 20% on a $300,000 home? That's over $60,000. So that's 6 times more money that you have to bring to the table if you want to do that, but that's not all. Right now, construction loans are more expensive than mortgages. If you've never done this before, get informed. A construction to permanent loan will roll your construction loan into a regular mortgage once the building process is complete. In other words, you're going to basically pay for a loan while the construction process is happening. And guess what? If the home ends up being more expensive, that's also going to roll forward into a mortgage. Now, this is the way to go because once it moves to what's called permanent financing and it moves into a mortgage, with today's really low interest rates, at least you've been able to lock that in. That is probably the one saving grace, that even though costs are really high, at least rates are really low. You shouldn't just be considering the start of the process, you should also be looking at the end of the process. It's one thing to decide whether you're gonna buy or build, but you should also be asking, what happens when I someday wanna sell this house? Or did you move out of it and turn it into an investment property? Well, there's something else happening politically that you should be aware of. You see, Biden, he really hates 1031 exchanges. And you might be thinking, well, Kris, what's that? A 1031 exchange is a way for you to sell a property and take all of your gains and roll it into another property, and you don't have to pay the capital gains on that. By the way, Biden is looking at doubling capital gains. So it's a big deal for the wealthy and the rich, or if you want to become wealthy and rich, to know how do I actually move that asset and the money in it into another one without getting hit with a really big tax bill. That's what a 1031 exchange is, except that Biden hates them and he wants to do away with them. And so you should consider, is that going to affect your strategy and your decision of whether to buy or build? If Biden really takes away the 1031 exchange, the strategy to hold and refinance properties will become more popular. Good news for you and I is that even though a 1031 exchange is a way to defer taxes and not get hit with that tax bill, there at least is a secondary strategy. You can actually hold the property and not sell it and do a refinance. You literally can go to the bank and say, bank, I want to get some of my equity or some of my money back out of this, and you're not going to have to pay taxes on that either, because a refinance is a tax deferred event like a 1031 exchange. So even if Biden wins that war, hopefully he never wins this one. So here's the takeaway message. If you never sell, you never have to pay those capital gains, which is why wealthy people will actually buy a property and they'll roll it into another, they'll roll it into another, and with more properties and more cash flow, they'll live happily with all the cash, but that cash usually comes to them tax-free because the property and the depreciation on the property writes off all of that taxable income, and hence you have the wealthy that are probably gonna keep on refinancing properties but never quite selling. Should I stay or should I go now? This is the question. Should I do it? Should I build? Should I buy? I mean, think about this for just a moment. If the land, the lumber, the labor, and the loans, if they all come together, you're going to be asking this question. Is it a good deal and should I be doing it? I think that there's a third option rather than just buying or building. Check this out. Build, buy, or invest. You know, I've got a lot of people coming to me and they're saying, hey, Kris, we're looking at buying, we're looking at building, and they're only doing that in context of what they want for themselves. And you know what? I've run the numbers several times, and you know what I'm honestly telling people right now? Don't buy and don't build. You should invest. Because guess what? If you buy a house for you, it's a liability. When I buy it, when I own it, if I'm buying it at a higher price and the market later comes down, you're gonna take a bath. There's gonna be, in the future, a lot of these homes going back to the banks as foreclosures. There's gonna be a lot of messed up credit. There's gonna be a lot of sour people. But you know who wins in a game where property values increase? It's not the consumer that is buying a home to live in. It's an investor if they know what they're doing. Can you imagine right now if you bought 10 homes and let's just say they each went up $200,000, that's like $2 million. There's a grab in the next 5 years with this hyperinflation to create a big win. Not for people that are stupidly holding money in the bank or 401ks or IRAs. It's the people that know what they're doing and putting that into the game of real estate. And you know what? That's what my expertise is in. That's what I've done with over $1 billion on 5,000 properties. And I just want to ask right now, are you curious to get even, not just traditional 25% ROIs, but what if you could get double that? What if there was a possibility for triple or even quadruple that? Those are the gains that I'm seeing right now in my personal real estate portfolio. I believe that right now is the year of the decade of the century to be involved in the game of real estate. And if you've ever thought that real estate could be a true way for you to build and accumulate wealth, the time is most certainly now. I think in the next century when we look back, we are going to cite this era as the new roaring 20s, just like in the previous century before we had one of the worst real estate markets. Because mark my words, in the next decades, we will see in real estate the best of times and the worst of times. And if you know what you're doing, it's actually always just the best of times. So there's a link below. And if you click that link, you're gonna get some information on how you could team up with me. I'll take you to the best marketplaces and we're gonna kill it in the game of real estate. Joe Biden, the nerve, right? Like that guy is not only doubling capital gains, he's trying to do away with 1031 exchanges. Do you know what he's doing to trusts, like the money that you want to pass on to the next generation for generational wealth? They're lowering the amount of money that you can actually pass on before the government tries to take half of it. It's crazy. But if you really want to get savvy on this whole 1031 exchange thing that is going to upset everything, especially for the rich and the wealthy that have been using that strategy for decades, over a century, you're going to want to click this link, check out this video. It's nuts. Should I build or should I buy now? Do-do-do-do-do. Should I build or should I buy now? It's important to get the words right. Ready?